Have you ever ordered a product, maybe electronics, clothing, or even packaging, and wondered how companies decide whether a batch is good enough to sell? Because in the real world, not every single item is perfect. That's where acceptable quality level, or AQL, comes in. Acceptable quality level, often shortened to AQL, is a standard used in quality control to determine the maximum number of defective items that can be considered acceptable in a batch of products. In simple terms, it answers the question, how many defects are okay before we reject the entire batch? Now, this might sound surprising at first. Why would any defects be acceptable at all? The reality is that achieving 100% perfection in mass production is extremely difficult and expensive. Instead, companies set a tolerance level, a small percentage of defects that is considered acceptable without compromising overall quality. Let's break this down with a simple example. Imagine a company produces 10,000 units of a product. They set an AQL of 1%. That means up to 100 defective items may be considered acceptable. If the number of defects stays within that limit, the batch passes inspection. But if it goes above that threshold, the entire batch may be rejected or require further inspection. Now, how do companies actually check this? They don't inspect every single item. That would take too much time and cost too much money. Instead, they use something called sampling. This means randomly selecting a smaller group of items from the batch and inspecting those. Based on the number of defects found in the sample, they decide whether the whole batch meets the AQL standard. There are usually different categories of defects as well. Some defects are considered critical, meaning they could cause harm or make the product unusable. These usually have a very strict AQL, often close to zero. Others are major defects, things that affect functionality or customer satisfaction. And then there are minor defects, small issues like slight cosmetic imperfections that don't affect how the product works. Each category can have its own acceptable level depending on how serious the defect is. So, why is AQL so important? Because it helps businesses balance quality and cost. Without a system like AQL, companies might either spend too much trying to achieve perfection or risk sending out too many defective products and damaging their reputation. AQL provides a structured, measurable way to maintain consistency in quality control. But here's something important to understand. AQL does not guarantee that a batch is perfect or defect free. It simply means the batch meets a predefined standard of acceptability. A common misunderstanding is thinking AQL is about ensuring zero defects. In reality, it's about managing risk and maintaining a reasonable level of quality in large scale production. Another misconception is that AQL is the same for every product. In practice, it varies depending on the industry, the type of product, and how critical quality is. For example, medical devices will have much stricter standards than something like packaging materials. So, what's the key takeaway? Acceptable quality level, or AQL, is a quality control standard that defines how many defects are acceptable in a batch of products. It helps companies ensure consistent quality while keeping production efficient and cost effective. And once you understand AQL, you start to see how businesses manage quality at scale without needing perfection in every single item.